9 years. That's how long I had been living in that house, paying rent religiously, never missing a single month, even when I lost my job, even when I was sick, even when my so-called family forgot my birthday 3 years in a row. It was my childhood home, the same house where I took my first steps, skinned my knee on the porch, and learned to ride my bike. And yet, somewhere along the way, it stopped feeling like home. Somewhere along the way, my presence shifted from daughter to obligation. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video. It started subtly, like the way my name was left off group texts for family dinners, or how my opinions were routinely ignored during conversations. My younger brother Ethan lived rent-free upstairs, working a part-time job and spending most of his days gaming or sleeping in, but he was the golden boy, the miracle child after my mother's third miscarriage. My parents coddled him endlessly. Meanwhile, I paid $1,100 a month to live in the guest room downstairs. Yes, the same room that used to be my playroom. They even had the audacity to ask me to clean the house, since I was already home most of the time. I was working 2 jobs, freelancing from home during the day and waiting tables at night. And still, when the dishwasher broke, they handed me the manual. When the power tripped, they blamed me for plugging in too many things. When the garden needed weeding, that was my rent discount. But not once, not one time, did they thank me for helping keep that roof over their heads. The final straw wasn't some screaming fight or dramatic betrayal. It was a quiet Tuesday evening. I had just come back from a double shift, my shoes soaked in rain and my fingers blistered from hauling trays. I entered the living room just as my dad was on the phone with a family friend, chatting about the house. I paused when I heard him say, "Oh, Lily? She's not really family. She's just renting the downstairs now." I didn't say anything at first. I stood there, frozen, watching the man who raised me so casually dismiss me as a stranger. When he noticed me, he didn't even flinch. He just said, "You shouldn't eavesdrop. It's not polite." That night, I stared at the ceiling until dawn, the words echoing over and over. Not really family, just renting. The next morning, over a cup of lukewarm coffee, I asked calmly, "Is that how you see me?" "Just a tenant." My father didn't hesitate. "Well, you do pay rent. You're an adult. You're not a kid anymore. Ethan's different. He's still trying to find himself." "And me?" I asked, barely keeping my voice steady. "You found your independence. You're doing fine. You don't need us like he does," my mother added without even looking up from her phone. The cruelest part wasn't the words, it was how casually they said them, as if 9 years of contributions meant absolutely nothing, as if being reliable and self-sufficient made me disposable. I nodded. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. But inside me, something shifted. They thought they were being fair, logical, just business. That's what Dad always said when raising the rent, or when deducting utility overages from my deposit. He liked pretending we had some formal agreement, like I was some stranger off Craigslist and not the daughter who once called him her hero. But if this was business to them, then I'd finally treat it like business too. Because what they didn't remember was that after my grandmother passed away, she left the house to me, not my parents. Me. They had begged me to keep it in the family, to not sell it. "We'll pay rent, just let us live here," my dad had said almost tearfully 9 years ago when they were in financial ruins. I agreed. I was young, naive, and desperate for their approval. I let them stay. But I kept the deed. And now the tenant was about to become the landlord they never saw coming. The day after my father called me just a tenant, I began organizing everything, quietly, methodically, with the kind of precision I'd learned over the years from managing their messes while they took credit for being a close family. My name was still on the deed. My grandmother's final act of love was giving me this house, and I had kept that truth locked away for nearly a decade, out of love, out of hope, out of fear that if I ever used it, I would lose whatever tiny scraps of affection my parents pretended to show. But that affection was long gone. All that remained was their sense of entitlement, and I was done feeding it. For the first few days, I acted normal. I paid my rent, cash, as always, and even cooked dinner one night. They barely acknowledged it, of course. My mother muttered something about it being a bit salty, and my dad commented that Ethan probably wouldn't eat poor people food. My brother didn't even show up to the table. He was upstairs gaming, yelling at his screen about someone stealing his loot. Meanwhile, I was planning a different kind of heist, one that would take back my peace, my dignity, and the very home they had reduced to a transactional arrangement. I scheduled a private meeting with a realtor, someone I trusted. I told her I was ready to sell. She pulled up the current value of the house, and when I saw the number, I actually laughed. My parents had no idea the land beneath their feet had nearly tripled in value. The buyer would be thrilled to take it off my hands. But I didn't list it, not yet. Instead, I called a lawyer. "Can I remove tenants if I'm the sole legal owner?" I asked, my voice shaking. He didn't hesitate. "If they don't have a lease and you're the deeded owner, yes. With 30 days' notice, served formally. No lease, just my trust. That's all they ever had." The documents were drawn up that week, and still, I didn't say a word. I wanted one last look at what they really thought of me. That chance came on a Sunday night, during dinner with extended family. My parents had invited everyone over for my dad's pension celebration. I wasn't told about it until the day of. My mother said, "You're home anyway, right? Might as well be useful." She asked me to clean the kitchen and help set the table. There were 20 people seated. I stood at the edge of the room, still wearing my apron from the cafe I'd just gotten off shift from. My uncle raised his glass. To Mark for retiring after 35 years, and to the family for always sticking together. My dad beamed. My mom dabbed her eyes dramatically. And then came the dagger. My aunt turned to me and asked, "And what are you up to these days, Lily? Still doing that part-time stuff?" Before I could answer, my father jumped in. "She's doing fine, just sort of figuring things out, you know. She's renting with us for now." There it was again. Renting with us. Not lives here. Not my daughter. Not even a whisper of acknowledgement for the woman who paid their mortgage through every hardship. But this time I smiled. Because I knew something they didn't. After everyone left, my mother complained that the dishes weren't done fast enough. Ethan shouted down that the Wi-Fi sucked. My father sat in his recliner, drinking the expensive whiskey I had bought for his celebration without thanks. I went to my room, the one they never let me decorate beyond a lamp and a foldable bed, and retrieved the manila folder. The next morning, I placed 3 envelopes on the kitchen counter, one addressed to Dad, one to Mom, and one to Ethan. Inside were the official 30-day notices, legally binding, stamped and signed. The letterhead was clear. Notice to vacate premises, owner action. I watched from the hallway as my mom opened hers first. At first, she thought it was junk mail. Then, her eyes darted across the bolded sentences. She blinked, read it again. Her mouth opened, but no sound came. My dad looked over her shoulder, brow furrowed. "What is this?" he asked. I stepped forward and said calmly, "You wanted to treat me like a tenant. So, I'm acting like one, with rights. This house? It was mine all along. You have 30 days to leave." The silence was deafening. My father stood up. "You're kicking your own parents out? You already said I wasn't family, just a tenant. This tenant is evicting her landlords." "You can't do this," my mother gasped. "I can, and I am." Ethan finally came downstairs, disheveled and confused. "What's going on?" My dad barked. "Your sister's lost her mind. She's throwing us out." I turned to Ethan. "You haven't paid a cent in 9 years. You've had more meals cooked for you than I've had days off. You'll figure it out." "I don't have anywhere to go," he cried. "Neither did I when you all decided I was just a tenant. Figure it out." And with that, I walked out of the room. But not before setting the final piece in motion, an email to my realtor. "List it. I'm ready." The 30 days passed like a strange countdown. Every tick of the clock peeling back another layer of the facade my family had wrapped themselves in. My parents tried every trick in the book. First, it was denial. "We gave you everything," my mom said one morning, standing in the hallway with her arms crossed like she still had the power to ground me. "We raised you." "No," I corrected. "You tolerated me. You raised Ethan. You raised your pride and your expectations. I just grew up between the cracks." Then came guilt. My dad sat me down one night while my mother banged cabinets loudly in the background. "You're really going to leave your old man homeless, after everything?" "I'm not leaving you homeless," I said quietly. "You've had 9 years to build a home. I just stopped letting you do it on my dime." Then came rage. "You ungrateful brat," my mother snapped the week before the move-out date. "This is why we never saw you as family. You're cold. You always have been." I didn't flinch. I just looked her in the eye and replied, "And yet I was warm enough to pay your bills." It hurt. God, it hurt more than I could have imagined. Even when you're the one walking away, even when justice is on your side, losing the illusion of a family still carves you open in places you didn't know could bleed. But I never wavered. When moving day came, I sat on the front steps of the house, my house, coffee in hand, watching the U-Haul wobble into the driveway like a guest that didn't belong. My parents didn't speak to me. My mother kept her sunglasses on the entire time even though it was cloudy. My dad barked at Ethan to move faster. Ethan sulked, dragging trash bags full of tangled cords and half-broken gaming gear to the truck. I didn't help. That was new for them. By the end of the afternoon, the house was empty, of noise, of chaos, of condescension. Just quiet walls and air that finally felt like mine. I closed the door behind them. And then I cried. Not because I regretted anything, but because it was over. The battle I'd fought with a smile, the wound I carried behind silent dinners and hollow holidays, the ache of knowing I was never enough in their eyes, I finally stopped carrying it. 3 weeks later, the house sold above asking price. I took a photo of the final signed documents and attached it in a message to my father's old number with no text. Just the proof. Then I bought a small condo downtown, nothing extravagant, just warm. Mine. A year passed. I opened my own cafe. Not my parents' dream, not Ethan's fallback plan. Mine. I poured everything into it, the savings, the pain, the hope. I named it Second Sunrise. It became a local favorite. People came for the cinnamon scones, but stayed for the atmosphere, the laughter, the second chances steeped in every cup. Then one rainy afternoon, I saw a familiar figure outside the window. My mother. Her umbrella was broken and her hair was soaked. Her eyes scanned the menu nervously through the glass. Behind her, my father sat in a parked car. They didn't come in. They didn't even knock. But they saw me. I stepped out onto the sidewalk, holding 2 to-go cups. "Caramel latte," I said, handing one to her. "Your favorite." She took it with shaking hands. "We're living with Ethan now," she whispered. He doesn't have much space, but it's fine." I nodded. "It usually is, until it's not." She looked up, guilt swimming in her eyes. "Lily, we didn't know how strong you were." "You didn't care," I replied. "But I did, and that was enough." She opened her mouth to speak again, but I stepped back. "I have customers inside. Take care." And with that, I walked back into the cafe. To the smell of hope and cinnamon, to the life I built without them, to the version of me they never believed could exist. Not just a tenant, not just a spare, not just a background character in their carefully curated image of family, but the owner, the one who rose, the one who mattered, even if only to herself.